Hey, it's Marilla Manelli, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to show you how to do a full install using the brand new 22-inch Pro Wavy hair extensions from Donna Bella Hair. And I'm even going to show you how to custom color your tape-in extensions for a dimensional blend. But before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications so you don't miss a tutorial. Now let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so this is the part 2 video that's all about the hair extension install, but just to give you a recap from the last video, I took my model from these pink hair extensions with some really grown out highlights and chunky highlights and transformed her into a much more natural copper shade. If you want to check out that video, be sure to watch the part 1 to this hair tutorial. So I went ahead and removed her hair extensions using the tape and bond remover from Donna Bella Hair and just carefully removing those tapes. And then I basically did a full-on color correction, including some highlights and lowlights and a full glaze. And we decided to go ahead and color match her with some tape-in extensions, and basically she came in a week later and we custom colored her tape-in extensions. And just a little disclaimer, since she came back about a week later, we did do a new refresh glaze on her just to be sure that the hair extensions matched perfectly. So what I decided to order was 3 packs of the 22-inch Pro Wavy tape-in extensions in color 610 and color 600, and then I decided to custom color them. So since we adjusted her color for the second time, we basically did a combination of 8C with 5N and a few swigs of the 4RR 1:2 mixing ratio with 9 volume developer. And this is the exact same formula we even put on over her copper shade that she had put prior. And she just kind of decided over that week that she wanted to richen it up just a little bit more onto the red side. So I took those tape-in extensions, and what you want to do is make sure that you thoroughly saturate the hair extensions with the hair color, really working it in onto both sides of the hair. So make sure you're flipping it over onto each and every single tape. Another tip is you're only going to want to use a Demi permanent or a semi-permanent color line when coloring the hair extensions. You're never going to want to use a lightener or anything that's super strong ammonia based. Something really gentle is key, especially since hair extensions in general are heavily processed. So you want to make sure that you're taking care of them so they have a nice longevity for your client. So this is my model's hair freshly glazed before her hair extension install service, and we just did a rough dry with only shampoo, no conditioner. So you want to make sure the hair is nice and prepped so that way you're not having any oily hair or any residue before installing a tape-in extension. So for her sectioning, I just took her right down the middle and then right behind the ear, which is where she normally parts her hair down the middle. And for the back, I actually started up a little higher because she has this really cute undercut going on. So of course we had to compensate for that. So there's going to be a little bit more of a creative placement when getting started with this. As you can see, her hair extensions match really beautifully, and we even got the highlights to match really nicely as well. And if you're wondering why I didn't just order a color that matched her hair perfectly, at the end of the day, you're never really going to find extensions that match to a T. So I typically will do a glaze even if it's just a minimal adjustment. I typically use 2 different shades of extension colors, and the reason for that is so that way it stays looking really dimensional. But what I'm going to do on these first 2 sections is make sure that I'm using the darker shade. So this is the color 610, and it's going to be slightly darker because her hair overall appears darker. So I'm going to use that darker shade and sandwich it on the top as well as the bottom. You can see I'm using lots of clips, really clean sections, and even these hair grippers, which are the pink little square tabs right on the top. So this actually helps keep all of those little flyaways at bay. And that is probably the most important tool that I like to use, because when you're doing tapes or honestly any type of extension install, you want to keep the flyaways as far away as possible, so that way you don't have any tugging or snagging or anything like that. Another little tip is I like to install from the top right on down to the bottom. So I put the first tape right on my top section with no space in between my tapes, and using my quick pick, I'm just separating any little baby hairs that could be there. But you'll notice when you pick up the hair, it already sections the hair right on out for you, which is kind of a nice technique to use because everybody's hair density is just different. And then I just sandwich them together. Now, since she has this really creative undercut, I did have to custom cut my last little section. So I'm just using my stork shears and creating a little mini half sandwich just to complete the row. So you'll also notice that I'm never going right to the hairline. So since she has that undercut, I actually started about 3 fingers inside. So that way, if she does wear her hair back, we're not going to see the point of origin of where those hair extensions are coming from. Now to get started on my second row, and this is where I'm also going to add in another set of the darker hair extensions. So this subsection is about a 1/2 inch thick, and I want to basically make this pretty small subsection so that way we're doubling up on that weight line towards the bottom. So that's really the key to hair extensions, is getting them pretty close together, and then you can start spacing them out as you get towards the top. So I'm still going 3 fingers in from the exterior, even though she has that undercut, and I'm applying the tape from the top, lifting it up, separating those hairs out. And a really important key here is when you get ready to sandwich that bottom section, you want to make sure it's lined up. So a really quick tip is to make sure that your body position is standing right in front of the section that you are installing. This is going to help ensure that you're lining up the tape completely in line with the other tape. So that's super key, because if you do have it out of line, what happens is other hairs kind of start to snag on it, and you really don't want that to happen. You want them to line up perfectly and press the tape right onto the center and then on the sides and completely seal that tape completely closed. So A, you get a lot of longevity out of it, and B, you're not going to have random little hairs snagging on any exposed tape. Once I get the third section completely installed, I'm now going to create my 4th section or row, but this is where I'm going to marry the front into the back. Keep in mind that for those first 2 rows, I only use the darker hair extension color, and then for the 3rd row and for the remaining rows, what I'm doing is applying the darker install on the top, which is color 610, and then I'm sandwiching color 600 that I colored, so it's a little bit more brighter right underneath. So I decided to do this type of install mainly because the overall appearance of her hair is the darker shade, but I wanted those pops of lighter copper red shades poking through, so I felt like the underside was perfect. But for the very front right here, to add for that fullness, since she does have a little bit more highlights going on because she had those prior chunky highlights, I decided to just go ahead and sandwich 2 of the color 600 shade right in that front section. So it's a little bit brighter and a little bit more pop of red. Now I'm completing my 5th row. So keep in mind, again, in that back section, I'm putting the darker shade on top, lighter shade underneath, and just sandwiching 2 lighter shades towards the front. Now everybody's front hairline is going to be a little bit different. So she has a pretty fine hair texture, and it is a little bit more shallow. So I decided to be extra careful here. We actually decided that she wanted a little bit of extra wiggle room since she does wear her hair up. And this was actually the perfect marriage for what she was trying to achieve. So once I get those first 2 rows kind of stacked really close together on those front sections, I want to continue to go up just a little bit higher. So I'm going to install a 3rd section for the front, but I decided to bring it right on back to that back section just in case I decided to put 2 tapes right next to each other, which is exactly what I did. What I love about tape-ins is they're super customizable and they're easy to install. You don't need any tools, and these are gonna last her about 6 to 8 weeks. And when I'm doing the install, this is something that we actually talk about before, during, and even after her appointment. And we already know that when she's complete with her service, she's gonna rebook for her next service so we can make sure we're maintaining her extensions properly. So once her install is completely done, I'm just combing the rest of her hair down, making sure that everything's looking good and it's good to go. And now we're gonna get ready to cut and blend her actual hair into her extensions. So I decided that I like using a razor, especially for this wavy type of texture look that she's got going on. And I'm just basically splitting her hair right down the middle. You can see it's a little off center. I like to part the hair where it naturally falls, so that way it's just easier to style and we're creating a custom cut according to how she wears her hair. So I'm just creating some really soft face framing layers. And then for the back section, I'm just taking vertical sections, holding the hair up, making sure that her natural hair is lined up with the starting point of where I'm going to start that blend for extensions. And cutting the extensions vertically really helps for a beautiful blend. For her final style, I'm using one of my favorite tools, which is the 3-barrel waver from Donna Bella Hair. And this might sound a little odd, but I actually like holding the waver upside down, or basically in the opposite direction on how you normally would use it, which is the clip facing down or towards your client's head. Basically, what this creates is a much more deeper form of a wave versus holding it the other way. If you held it the traditional way, you're going to get a much more relaxed type of wave, but holding it upside down makes it much more deeper. And I think this enhanced not only her natural wave, but also the waves of the extensions. And then basically to finish it off, I used a 1-inch wand to add more texture so it looks a lot more lived in.
And here's the final result of this custom install using the brand new 22-inch Pro Wavy tape and extensions from Donna Bella Hair. So just to give you a little recap, we went in with a total of 6 packs of hair in color 600 and 610, and then custom colored them with Demi Permanent in Kenra color for a dimensional and seamless blend. And then for her final style, I used the Donna Bella Hair Waver to enhance those natural waves, and then finished her off with some 1-inch curls on some random pieces of hair for more added texture and volume. So I really hope you enjoyed this hair tutorial, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe. And comment down below what your favorite part of this entire tutorial was, and I'll be sure to respond. For more free education, you can head over to morellamanelli.com and subscribe to my email list and get free education sent right to your inbox. And you can follow me on all my other social media channels like Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, all under Morella Manelli. And if you enjoy listening to podcasts, be sure to listen in on my podcast called Hair B&B. It's a podcast all about hair, beauty, and business. And finally, be sure to check out my other hair tutorials right here on this channel, and I will see you next time.